This is beautiful. Let's give it a thought. You can see the whole every step. This looks sick.
He's 19 years old. His name is Ryan Mitchell. He had a dream that only started about a year and a half ago, and he realized it. He saved some money, got to Mount Everest, and now he has a summit of Mount Everest under his belt. He's an exceptional young man whose real dream and desire is to impact people in a positive way, to show people what authenticity is all about.
So don't use this as an excuse to think, I've tried this YouTube channel for a week and it's just not working. Like, what the hell, man? No, you gotta go out. You gotta go at it for a little bit longer than that.
Ryan has a really neat background that we're going to dive deeply into in this amazing interview I did with him from his home in central Massachusetts. He has a Minecraft video channel on YouTube with over 2 million subscribers and had great success in it, but he said it just wasn't resonating with him. So Mount Everest came along. I'm going to let him tell the story. I'm not even going any farther. But suffice it to say, have you ever had a goal or a dream or something that you wanted to do, and then a year goes by and you're like, not any closer to realizing the dream? Ryan had this dream, boom, he's on it, and now he's got Everest under his belt. Incredible story, very exceptional story, because it's inspiring to anybody of any age. Even if your goal is to lose a few pounds or to get in better shape or start painting or whatever it is that you want to do, Ryan's YouTube channel started out with just a couple of hundred subscribers, and he basically took us through the entire process of what it's like to climb Mount Everest, how much money it costs, what it's like getting prepared, how to get in shape, and he would intersperse other stories about hanging around with people that you admire or that you see yourself wanting to become. Topics such as authenticity, something that I've covered in my Happiness Quotient podcast as well as on this YouTube channel. So a lot with this young man resonates. He's got big dreams ahead of him, but I wanted to grab him as quickly as I could after his successful summit on May 23rd, 2024, and have him tell me first person about what it was like on Mount Everest. And yes, there were some more traumatic aspects of it, encountering two individuals who had lost their lives in their pursuit of going after Mount Everest in the death zone. Ryan's going to tell you all about it. In the meantime, I just wanted to mention that I have some really cool free content over on my Patreon page, and I'd love it if you jumped over there. If this kind of interview is something that resonates with you, I know you're going to like the additional content I have over there. I have part 2 of my interview with Wade Davis. I also have some more philosophical things that one patron told me it's the best video that she has ever seen of mine. So that's cool. Why don't you head over there, patreon.com/Everest Mystery. And in the meantime, hit the subscribe button, because I've got a lot of really good stuff coming up in the future months, and I know you're not going to want to miss it. So let's get to Ryan Mitchell from his home in central Massachusetts and hear about his amazing adventure. All right, Ryan, congratulations. You just, as Sir Edmund Hillary said, you just knocked the bastard off. How you feeling?
Pretty good. Glad to be back home, but yeah, it was a good climb, good climb.
Yeah, you have a really cool story because, and it's an important one for someone like me who has been thinking and dreaming of Mount Everest since the 1980s, and it took me years to get there, to be hired to go and film a documentary and things like that. And I keep hearing stories, and it's not 100% untrue, just only rich people can go climb the mountain. Only you have to be rich, spoiled, arrogant, stuff like that. So my goal with you is to dispel that myth, because from what I know of you, you spent a lot of time saving money and packing it away because you had a dream and it wasn't just handed to you. So I just, kind of wanted to open the portal to that. If you could kind of explain to me the genesis of it and how you made it happen.
Well, Everest is definitely expensive. That is true. It's like you could either buy a car or you could go to Everest. So you can decide which one you want to do. But yeah, so I mean I guess I my family's middle class. My parents are divorced, so if that, you know, it's not like I'm constantly being given money, right? Or I don't get an allowance or anything. 3 years ago, was it three? Maybe about 5 years ago, I was working on a vegetable farm. I was picking vegetables, so I was always kind of doing those little jobs, worked at a ski resort for a while, but I always wanted to be a YouTuber. That was one of my big dreams as a kid growing up since I was 10 years old. And I had always been on and off for 6 years. I never made it work because usually people don't want to watch a 13-year-old make Minecraft videos, right? You think you're making good videos, but you're not. So 6 years go by, and then quarantine hits, and I finally have my first viral video. It was kind of by luck, but also kind of a little bit of strategy. I didn't really know what I was doing, but once I had one video hits, I was able to build off of that. And 4 years go by, the channel's at 2 million subscribers now, but in that time, I was able to turn it into a full-time career. So I didn't go to college or anything. I just went straight for that after high school. After high school, I didn't want to climb Everest yet, but I got the idea about December 2022. And because I had the flexibility and the money from that channel, I was able to kind of tackle it full speed. Didn't really waste any time.
That is so cool. So the channel that you posted your, if you will, your daily Everest vlog on, if that's the right word for it, was that your Minecraft channel, or did you start a new entity just to keep them separate?
Yeah, so it's completely different. The Minecraft channel, the brand is a cup. It's literally a cup. It's just something stupid I thought of. But it was recognizable, so I continued going through with it. But I wanted to make a channel that was just actually my brand, I guess, and I would post because it's a completely different style of videos, right? Minecraft is super over the top. I'm like, this build is crazy. This Minecraft stuff is crazy. But then the Everest stuff is way more just down to earth, authentic, real, actually who I am. So it's a completely different entity because the Minecraft viewers wouldn't want to really watch that type of content. And also I didn't want my brand to be a cup anymore. So I completely started fresh. And then I started posting the logs on it. I didn't expect them to get any views, but they ended up picking up traction as I kept going, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, they slowly picked up steam because early on, there, you'd get, yeah, they had a couple thousand views or something like that. And I haven't looked at your summit video numbers yet, but I know the last time I looked, and it might have been 10 days ago, it had like 80,000 views. So I bet it's a lot more than that. Is it, I mean, do you know what it is today? Like, it's got to be huge.
Yeah, it's like 750,000 now. So that's awesome.
So, so the cool thing about YouTube is you can go into the analytics of a video. Did you get a ton of subscribers from that? Like you must just be going like off the charts.
I could check right now. I definitely did bring, I think I had 8-ish thousand because I did have a reoccurring viewer base coming back, which is pretty awesome. But from that video, I did 4,500 subscribers, which is, I mean, I don't know if YouTube, the studio, 'cause sometimes it lies about the subscribers, but yeah, either way, it's at 20,000 now, which is cool. So I had, I think, 200 when I posted the videos because I had posted a few videos prior to that, just talking about my gear and how I was able to afford it and whatnot. But yeah.
Hey everybody, I'd like to jump in real quick and tell you about the sponsor of today's amazing interview with Ryan Mitchell, the 19-year-old who climbed Everest under his own willpower by saving his own money. AG1 made it all possible. It probably comes as no surprise that I keep really fit even when I'm super busy. I try to get out 2 or 3 times a week. AG1 is the answer I've been looking for when it comes to taking care of my brain, gut, and immune system. Now, I really don't like taking vitamins. It's always felt a lot like work to me. And AG1 is super easy. It mixes right into either water or oat milk or even coconut water. And the real kicker, it tastes good, really good. It has vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and more with no GMOs, added sugars, or animal byproducts. That's impressive, and that's really important to me. What some people don't know is that vitamins and minerals are sometimes hard for the body to integrate and absorb. AG1 makes it easy by carefully sourcing their ingredients for absorption, potency, and nutrient density so you can get the most out of the nutrients that you consume. One 8 to 12 ounce AG1 gets me all my vitamins, probiotics, and whole sourced ingredients. AG1's perfect for my lifestyle, especially as I start to get a little bit older. It supports my mental clarity, my focus, and my energy with ingredients selected for potency, nutrient density, and absorption in order to deliver the benefits they're supposed to. AG1 also uses naturally extracted essences from pineapple core and vanilla beans, never using added sugar or artificial ingredients. Try AG1 for yourself. Head to my link in the description below to get a free 1-year supply of AG vitamin D3 plus K2 plus 5 AG1 travel packs with your first purchase of AG1. Thanks AG1 for supporting this video. Now back to my interview with Ryan Mitchell. All right, so the whole idea of climbing Everest. So do you remember when it hit you that you wanted to do it, and what was the goal? Like, what was it like? I want to be on the tallest point on the planet, or were you like, oh, this would be kind of a cool thing to do, or where did it come from? And did somebody mention it to you? Oh, but you would never do that, dude. Or was it a challenge? How did this all happen?
Yeah, so I had never done any climbing prior to when I first started training. I mean, I had done some hikes around my hometown, but that's it. I'd never even gone to New Hampshire to do anything. But because I'd always been making these Minecraft videos, and kind of despite the gamer, stereotypes and whatnots, or whatever people may think of them, I was actually very into a disciplined lifestyle and taking on these different challenges. I do these big video projects just because I wanted to test if I was able to manage it, do all this different stuff. I love to learn. I love to just get better at new skills. So I wanted to make a new channel that wasn't Minecraft related and was, like I said, based around myself. And I wanted to make videos that were centered around improving yourself, actual valuable content, not just, I guess, brain rot Minecraft videos that nobody could relate to, nobody could resonate with. So I just randomly thought of the idea and title, I Climb Mount Everest. That's it. I looked into it more. I found this one dude's documentary on it, and they say the mountains called to, but I actually felt like the mountains had called to me. This is the first time I had ever seen mountaineering. And this one guy's documentary, I think it was In Deep Films. He made a really, really awesome documentary about it. I think it has 3 million views or something. But anyways, I'd watched it, and it just really, I was really compelled by it, and I just wanted to climb it. And usually when I see something like that and it actually does speak out to me, I go straight for it. So I don't like to waste any time. If I want to do something, I'm going to go straight for it. So from there, I contacted Alan Arnette, and he gave me a lot of guidance because I knew nothing. I didn't know what gear to get. I didn't know what to do, where to go. And then from there, I just kind of kept building myself up.
Yeah, Alan Arnette, he's been on this channel, Everest Mystery, on multiple occasions, a real treasure trove of knowledge. And what he suggested to you, which is what most of the most reputable guides out there would do, is like go in baby steps. So go to Denali, or go to Aconcagua, or even just not just Mount Rainier. Make sure you like it. Have a failure, get spanked by the mountain once or twice, and then just see if you really want to put yourself through it, because and I'm jumping ahead here a little bit, but a lot of people go, oh, well, you have Sherpas, you have fixed ropes, Everest is cake. Please tell me it wasn't easy, because I know it wasn't.
So physically, a lot of people rank Everest and Denali next to each other, but being ranked with Denali is still extremely hard if it's physical. If we're talking physically, Denali is very hard. So I would say physically they could be up to par, just because Denali, you're carrying so much weight. It's very self-sufficient. Everest has the altitude, a little less weight, a little less self-sufficient, I guess, but they still come pretty close to each other. But I will say Everest is harder, though, just because of the time away, and also just I mean, it's a whole different environment, right? So no, it's definitely not a piece of cake, and difficulty can vary, of course, but no matter what, you have to get up the mountain one way or another.
So what were the biggest trials and tribulations for you? Were like, did it come from a physical? Was it a mental thing? Was there a time where you just thought like, what the hell am I doing? Do you remember any difficulties in there for you that you had to gut out?
Yeah, so I got on our summit rotation, so now we're going to base camp and we're slowly working our way up to the summits. We did resting in Namche, which is one of the villages before this, to acclimatize, and I got some sort of cold. I don't know what it was, but if you get a cold up there, it just messes with you so much. I mean, usually how a cold affects me, I'll get exhausted, kind of fatigued, and then it goes into the nasal congestion and whatnot. But we were going up from base camp to camp two, which I think is one of the hardest days because you have to go all the way through the Khumbu Ice Fall, then you have to go all the way through the Western Khum, which is hot,
Mm.
literally an oven. So you're getting the whole a nice like 6 to 8 hour day, and I just was feeling it so much that day because of that cold. Consecutively, I think that's the hardest day I've ever had in my life because for 4 hours straight going through the Western Khum, I felt like I was gonna throw up. I was carrying and I was behind my team at this point. They had all got to camp two like an hour and a half before me. I had I had a pretty heavy pack. Feel like I'm gonna throw up the entire time. And also mentally, it's not even just physically that the next day, okay, I'm gonna be feeling great. It kind of gets in your head. You start thinking, what if it's worse tomorrow? What if this is an altitude thing and I'm developing symptoms of, HAPE or whatnot? So it is a lot of uncertainty that can get to you. But luckily I was able to get through it. We had a couple rest days at camp two, and then it still had a very, very bad congestion going on, but was able to subside and then move to the summit. And then I got Garrett Madison sick at Camp 4, which is it just overnight. We got in a tent for a day and he was gone. But he's gone through worse, I'm sure.
Garrett Madison is like a superhuman, so you can get him sick over and over and over, and he's not a normal human being. I mean that in the most complimentary way.
Yeah.
Um,
Summit number 14 for him, I
Summit
believe.
number 14 for Garrett, multiple ascents of K2. He's a good guy and he runs a really good ship. And so camp 2 up to camp 4, the Lhotse face, I hear it was bulletproof ice this year. Was that just a really arduous kind of testing? Because you're not a real climber previously that you said. So did the steepness, looking down between your legs and seeing that gigantic cliff underneath you, did that, test your nerves or anything?
Luckily, I've never been too afraid of heights, but I find, and this is why you should build yourself up. Really, you should build yourself up because this is very similar to what you would find on Denali, moving up the head wall from Camp 14 to 17 camp. Very similar. So you kind of get a lot of experience doing that, which is why it's great to. I think Denali is great preparation because you see everything, almost everything that you would find on Everest is in one way or another similar to Denali. So it was icy though. Uh, and it was hard to get the crampons in at some points. Sometimes there'd just be ice blocks that would fall right past you,
Yeah.
which was nice.
Yeah. Like, yeah, nothing like testing your nerves with a chunk of ice falling by that would kill you if it hit you.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so, a couple of other thoughts I have, but I want to ask you about Summit Day and what it felt like because you've been working toward this for years now, and then suddenly there it is, and all of it's like, whoa, this is going to come true. So, how was your Summit Day? And then, if you could just bring me through that final section to what it felt like to actually be standing on the summit.
Yeah, so we're leaving Camp 4, and it's a later start. It's probably around, I think we got started at 2 a.m., but that's usually what Garrett does to avoid the lines and everything like that. Doesn't really matter as long as you're not out there for too long whenever you start. But I was the colds had pretty much subsided now. I was still a little bit congested, but I did have the strength that I needed to get up. So I'd say it was a really good day. So I was with Furba, Garrett's lead guide, Furba, but he was flying the entire time. I mean, he brought out the jets for today, and it was the summit day. So I'm not really sure why, but some could argue that it was because, oh, you want to get up there as fast as possible, which is true, but you don't want to overexert yourself. But it felt good. If I mean, you're on oxygen, we're on 4 liters a minute, which is really nice. Oxygen makes a huge difference. And at this point now, I'm also not carrying as much weight as I had. Camp 3 to 4 was brutal because, I mean, carrying probably, I'm just gonna guess 40 pounds up that entire thing. That is, you feel it by the end of the day. But now I'm only carrying 2 oxygen bottles, so I'm able to go much faster. You're breathing in the oxygen, and it wasn't too cold either. We got some nice weather despite it not being the clearest day ever. But yeah, we were flying up. Made it to the balcony, was still feeling good, ate a little bit, made it to the South Summits. And once you get to the South Summits, the top of it, you really see the main summits now. So it's not blocked anymore. The whole time you never really see the Hillary Step or the main summit. Once you get to the South Summit, you can finally see it. That's when it started kicking in that, you're going to make it, which I think is the most emotional moment for me. Was you do realize you're like, wow, I'm like here, right? You start seeing the Hillary Step and you realize where you are. This is something that you've been thinking about, dreaming about for however long. Some people it's 10 years. For me, it was like a year and a half or whatnot. But yeah, that's when I started tearing up a little bit, but I knew anything could happen. So I didn't want to fully let it out yet. So I held back the emotions a little bit.
Awesome. And so you get to the summit and embraced, or how long were you on the summit? And what was the weather like?
Yeah, so we swapped out oxygen bottles right before the Hillary Step. We moved up. Furbus still going fast. We're passing people, unclipping from the rope, getting up there. But we move
Wow.
into the summits, and you see it. It's right there. Of course, I've kind of already gotten the tears out a little bit. A lot of people think you would kind of just like break down, but I feel once you get to the top. But I feel like it's pretty similar and a lot of people on my team, they actually got more emotional before they had gotten to the summits, because you realize you're going to make it. So it hits you before, maybe 30 minutes before. If you're feeling good, the weather's not going to change that quickly. You're going to be able to make it. You're making good timing. But yeah, we got to the summits, and me and Ferber, we wanted to wait for the rest of our team because the cold was bearable. And we were there for a good hour, I would say. We were on there for a while, so we were just chilling up there, taking videos and everything. Cool to see what was going on. A bit of trash, which was, I don't know, there was Coke bottles up there. Who's leaving those? I don't understand, but yeah.
Wow. That's an excellent summit day story. That I love that Furbo was just like, let's go, man. Let's do this. And 4 liters is great. It's not too much. It's not too little. So you're making good time. So talking about that, you mentioned the trash and the mountain in general. And I know people leave stuff on the summit, and I can remember finding the weirdest things up there. And a lot of the prayer flags just tattered and everything. And it's kind of I don't really think about it too much until you look at the pictures later. But how was the mountain in general? Because there are problems, especially in like Camp 4 and Camp 3 and Camp 2. But did you find that the trash situation was under control and you had to have the wag bag? So I kind of want to hear about that as well. So what was your experience in terms of the garbage and the human waste up there?
Yeah, so all the way up until Camp 4, I don't think I really noticed it. Camp 3 was a little bit bad. There's some leftover tents, but nothing that I think was excessive. Obviously, you don't want trash there, but I didn't think it was that bad. Camp 4 was excessive. That was a lot of trash, and I actually got up there and I could smell the trash. Usually, I lose my sense of smell at altitude because you'd be able to smell yourself and your teammates. You'd all smell horrible, but I just couldn't smell any of my teammates, but I could smell the trash that was at Camp 4. Hopefully, can you hear my dog barking?
That's fine. Yeah, I love it. My cat's meowing in the background. Maybe they see each other. So
Yeah, I don't know what he's
it's
barking
fine.
about. Anyways, Camp 4 was really bad, and people weren't using wag bags. So even though that's supposed to be enforced, people still weren't using them.
Really?
Um, yeah, we did though. We used it the whole way up, and then we brought it all the way down and deposited at the waste, which is kind of gross to put it in your backpack, but it is what it is.
But Garrett's been using wag bags anyway, hasn't he? So this was not new for him. He was kind of on the leading edge of the human waste situation. So is that, I think I have that right, correct?
Yes, I believe he's been using them.
So the other question, the one that I think a lot of people want to know about, that's not always easiest to talk about is, there were 8 deaths on the mountain this year, and I know that one of them was one of the Mongolian gentlemen was right below the South Summit, I think. It might have been the day before you summited. So was there a presence of that? A lot of people say you're going to be climbing over dead bodies. Most people don't understand that the vast majority of bodies still on the mountain you'll never see them. Maybe in 500 years they'll wash out on the bottom of a glacier. But did you see any? And if so, how did that impact you?
Yeah, so there was two on our summit day, and that was the only ones that we saw. Apparently, there was another. I don't know if it was on the way down. One of my teammates said there was one in between camp 3 and 2, right out on the flat part, right below the Lhotse face. But I mean, I was walking by and I didn't notice something was there, but I didn't really look at it because I wouldn't have expected a body to be there. But I don't know if that was an actual body or if it was just some sort of bag left behind or not. But we were moving up. So on the triangular face, right above Camp 4, pretty early on, maybe 30 minutes to an hour in, Furba says, dead body ahead, because he's letting me know, wants me to be prepared for when I see it. And I don't know if it was the Mongolian, because if you said below the South Summits, then it was below the balcony at this point.
Hmm.
But yeah, that one took me back a little bit because usually you see the bodies, I mean, the pictures and whatnot, let's just say green boots, they're covered in snow. You don't really see a person, but this was an actual person. His face was looking right at us as we were moving up. I'm not sure if it was the Kenyan climber or if the second one I'll talk about in a second was, but I can't even remember if he had a mask on or not. But yeah, he was right off the trail. He was on a different rope, not on the rope that you would use, but he was right there. And then the next one was really close to the summit. So I think it was right after the Hillary step. He was on kind of that traverse that you'll go across right before the summits. You could see him from before the Hillary step, actually. So I could notice that there was something over there as I was going up. But this one, he was much more covered in snow. You didn't really see his face or anything, so it was hard to tell if he was the Kenyan climber or whatnot. But he was also right on the trail. Just they set up a new rope, it seems, but he was on the rope right next to the main rope. You kind of had to step around him. There was like a small traffic jam when we got there, so we had to just wait and kind of see that body there for a second. So not sure if he summited or not. He was right by the summit, but yeah, that one wasn't as personal, but the first one was definitely a little bit more personal. And I guess you don't want to let it get in your head as you're going up because, of course, you don't want to end up like them if you end up panicking or if you let it get to you. But it was a little bit hard to think about. It's like, okay, that same person had the same dream, probably felt good the same way I do right now, and something happened that led them to never come down. So yeah, I mean, only 2 out of the 8, and I'm sure a lot do get washed down and whatnot, and you don't see them. But yeah, I didn't think they were going to be right on the trail like that. It was just somebody collapsed. They just collapsed, and then not sure if they got taken down. I feel like the ones that are really on the trail get taken down, recovered, but
yeah, that's why they call it the death zone. You go up in there and it doesn't take a lot to tip the scales in that direction that takes people's lives. And it's, the Kenyan guy who you mentioned, what a really neat individual trying to go without O2. And I think both the Mongolians were also trying without O2. I know that they summited. I think there's photo evidence. So, but who cares, right? Like, turn around at the South Summit, go the next year. So it's really, those are sad stories. So you've been home for a couple of weeks now, or at least the summit was probably 2+ weeks ago. Are you still floating? Are you still like just in this dream world, everybody's like hugging, like, ah, dude, let's get together. Or like what, like, so what, and then in that, what's next? Or is there a what's next right now for you?
Yeah, so it was fun getting back and everything, and my family had a party and whatnot, but I don't like to dwell on it for too long. Obviously, I'm glad with what I did, and I'm very satisfied with it. But it's kind of on to the next thing, and especially with the momentum from the channel. I mean, this is what I've wanted for the past year and a half, not only to summit Everest, but have a channel that actually inspires people, has that effect, provides value and whatnot. So the fact that it's kind of coming together like that, I'm not going to slow down for it. And it's what I want to do. So, I was having like there's a like seventh grade class that was watching me, and they sent me a thank you video and congratulations. So it's cool because you actually inspire people with these videos, and you inspire people with your podcast and everything that you've done. Um, so it's a good feeling in that sense, and don't want to slow down. So I'm gonna do some smaller stuff, of course. Well, I don't know what exactly yet. I have a few things just locally that I want to do, but K2 is my next, hopefully for next year.
Wow.
I'm looking into that right now. So
All right. So staying in
that's
the mountaineering genre, like you're not like, I'm gonna sail now. I'm done with mountains. Like Matt, it's in you now. You got
yes.
caught the bug.
Yeah, no, it is a bug. That's what Alan always says too. I just love mountaineering because of I guess and it sounds kind of corny, but the pain it gives you, right? There's no other experience that's as raw and authentic as mountaineering. And you learn so much from it about yourself, about what you can do. And it's a cool skill. It's fun. It's not, running long distances is really fun. You can test yourself in that way, but it isn't as fun, I guess, in this sense. That type 2 fun is just doing the same thing. But sometimes when you're moving up the south face, the sun was rising. And when the sun's rising and you're moving up some sort of glacier, stepping on that snow, you hear the snow crackling beneath your feet. That is just a feeling you can get nowhere else in the world. That is the happiest that I am right there when that sun is coming up. Sometimes the sun isn't coming up, sometimes it sucks, but those moments are actually to live for. So yeah, I want to keep mountaineering, and K2 seems like an awesome challenge. I'm gonna have to learn a lot more technical, continue training like I am, which is why I'm back to what I'm doing before. But yeah, it'll be a nice endeavor to get on.
Wow, that's cool. I'm so psyched to hear you want to do K2. That's an incredible mountain. Ryan, so your philosophy, you talked about inspiring people. Is there any prescribed philosophy or spiritual practice that you adhere to, or is this just something that kind of your mom and or dad or something like burned into you? What is who is Ryan? Who's that guy that wants to inspire people? Like, where did that come from?
I think because I don't know where it came from. My parents were never too pushy with me. I don't think it needs to come from anywhere. I don't think you need any parents to tell you to work hard or be disciplined your whole life. It's really just having goals, whether they're big or small, that you just work towards. But you have to really care for these goals and really not be content with failure in a sense, and not be content with doing the bare minimum. So I don't know if it came from anywhere necessarily. I think I kind of just developed it over time. I think one of the biggest things for me was YouTube. Having achieving that dream and actually having to work towards that, I had to sacrifice a lot of things, and I learned, luckily and fortunately, at a young age, that if you do put these things aside that are holding you back and really put your head down and work hard, you can achieve anything. So that's where I'd say it came from. And then ever since then, I've just been applying that to different things. And for me, that's the most rewarding and fulfilling way to live life. I don't think, I mean, the reason I want to go to a harder climb is because I need something that's harder and more challenging that I don't know if I can do. So when I do it, then I know I could do it. That's what's rewarding to me, is when you kind of head into the unknown and figure out that you can do something.
Oh, that's beautiful. So in a sense, you kind of answered the last question that kind of wraps a bow on the whole thing. Is there a lot of people might be watching this interview and feel as though they haven't accomplished something that they're endeavoring to do, or need to get off the couch, or I mean, it might be something really simple like I have fear in approaching this part of my life. So with the potential of reiterating something you just said earlier, what would you say to somebody who has a goal and a dream and they just thought, I'm never going to get to it, I'm tied down to this job or to my kids, or so what would be, if you have any words of encouragement for those people?
Um,
Nothing
I
like
mean,
putting you on the spot, but
yeah. Well, you can watch all the motivational videos you want out there and whatnot, all this advice that people would give. But at the end of the day, it's just going to come down to if you're willing to go through that amount of pain and I guess suffering, put down your head and really get after it. When I first thought of the idea to climb Everest, I didn't overthink it. People get analysis paralysis. I talked to a lot of my friends, they don't know what they want to do with college and everything. They want to do one thing, but they're held back by college or whatnot. Analysis paralysis is what's going to hold you back. If I had kept thinking, do I really want to climb Everest? Do I really want to climb Everest versus just going with my gut feeling and jumping into it, then I wouldn't have been able to do it. So I always think, and life isn't easy, but I always tell myself life is easy because really it's just as hard as you make it. So if you want to do something, you literally just have to do it. Don't overthink it. Just go day by day. And if you go day by day working towards this goal, you're going to get there at one point. So don't think in the long term of things, kind of how it's going to negatively affect me. Think of how it's going to positively affect me, the better person I'm going to be if I actually do go through with this. So yeah, and I think that's the way I go about things.
right on, one step at a time kind of thing, and
Yeah.
just go it. Ryan, I'm so psyched for you. This is really cool.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, no, it was a great interview. You're asking good questions. Actually, I had to think about them, you know?
I didn't want to make it too easy. So you just climbed Everest. If I threw you too many softballs, it would be like,
Yeah.
really,
Because
challenge the kid.
yeah, people ask me just how was it? And I never know what to say. It needs to be more specific. It's like good, it was good.
Yeah, right. Well, I know for one that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on his YouTube page and staying in touch with Ryan to find out how he's doing in going after K2 and whatever other goals he has in mind. I don't doubt that he will accomplish those goals. K2 is a whole different beast, a really dangerous mountain. And so I know that he's going to want to do a lot of training and get some experience in technical sides of things of mountain climbing and rock climbing and ice climbing even. I'm so glad to have had this opportunity to bring Ryan to Everest Mystery. His positivity and his kindness and his humility is exactly what I endeavor to continue bringing to you here on Everest Mystery. So be sure to go to his YouTube channel, check him out, hit subscribe, stay in touch with him, and I will certainly have him up to New Hampshire for a training hike or some kind of event where we can get out there and have a good chat that you guys will hopefully have an opportunity to listen in on. I know he inspires me, and I could be his grandfather probably, which is pretty outrageous to think of. And but he seems like he's a perfect fit. Great having you here. I truly appreciate it. Make sure you check out my free content over on patreon.com. You will not be disappointed. It's good stuff. In the meantime, do somebody a kind favor. Don't ask for anything in return. Make the world a better place, one tiny little step at a time. My friends, peace be with you.